The Marvel Cinematic Universe is about to get a whole lot, dare we say it, stranger.
Doctor.
It's strange.
With all the recent rumors surrounding Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, things are getting pretty exciting, especially when you start to look at who might be appearing in the film. With the multiverse involved, there's a solid chance that we're going to get some pretty cool alternative versions of all the characters we've come to know and love. Let's take a look. If the Marvel Cinematic Universe plays on delving into the concept of the multiverse, we're hard-pressed to think of a better character to introduce the concept through than Doctor Strange. Now, as far as casting goes, we know the Sorcerer Supreme himself, Benedict Cumberbatch, will be back, and it's likely his bestie, Benedict Wong, will be back to party it up in the multiverse too. A recent Comic-Con announcement confirmed that Elizabeth Olsen would be joining all the fun, reprising her role as Scarlet Witch. We wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if this was a means to tie in her brand new Disney Plus series, WandaVision.
Vision residents.
But beyond those cast members, Marvel Studios has kept silent on any further details. It's not surprising, seeing as how Marvel Studios is always silent regarding any details, but thank the maker for the good old internet rumor mill, which has brought some exciting news to the fold. We're looking at the likely possibility that a number of familiar characters will make an appearance in not-so-familiar forms. Now, while it hasn't been explored, the multiverse has been established in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Remember the Ancient One's first meeting with Stephen Strange? I mean, how could you forget all that insane trippiness? But we know it's been a whole 4 years since Doctor Strange was released. That's an entire college career, so we'll go ahead and refresh your memory. During their first hangout, the Ancient One said the following: "You think you know how the world works. You think that this material universe is all there is. What is real? What mysteries lie beyond the reach of your senses? At the root of existence, mind and matter meet. Thoughts shape reality. This universe is only one of an infinite number. Worlds without end. Some benevolent and life-giving. Others filled with malice and hunger.
Who are you in this vast multiverse?"
Avengers Endgame pushed the theory beyond the realm of Doctor Strange. By introducing time travel to the fold, the creative team at Marvel Studios has kicked open the doors to all kinds of possibilities, and Bruce Banner made it clear how time travel works in this universe. Whenever a change is made in the past, that doesn't actually alter the character's existing future. Instead, it spins off into its own timeline, creating an alternative reality. So, if the multiverse already existed, the time-traveling antics of Avengers Endgame made it a whole lot bigger. But what exactly does this mean for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Where will the story go? And how deep exactly will Doctor Strange get into all this multiverse madness? One thing's for sure, with the multiverse likely taking the center stage in this sequel, there are plenty of opportunities to showcase characters that Marvel fans thought were long gone. Jeremy Conrad, the founder of the MCU website Cosmic, which covers all things Marvel Studios, was the first one to bring this rumor to the table, and Jeremy has a pretty solid track record when it comes to breaking big Marvel news. Recently, he stated, "The concept of the multiverse means that there are other alternate realities where there are known MCU characters, but they could be very different, and according to a reliable source, the Doctor Strange sequel will explore that, and it sounds like we may see some known MCU characters but in very different ways." So what exactly does this rumor mean? Is it an excuse to bring Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. back into the fold for some big cameos? Well, that's less likely, seeing as how they're both pretty adamant about Avengers Endgame being their final hurrahs. But it's very possible we'll see a number of characters in alternate forms. And while Steve Rogers and Tony Stark might be off the table, what if we got an alternate version of Bucky Barnes? And this would be the Bucky we're familiar with from the comics, who ended up taking on the Captain America mantle. And perhaps this could be an opportunity to introduce Ironheart into the fold. That would be Riri Williams, the young girl who built her own functioning Iron Man suit before getting an endorsement from Tony Stark himself. We're also willing to bet that we'll get an appearance from Natasha Romanoff. Seeing as how Scarlett Johansson's got her solo movie coming up, it shouldn't be too much of a stretch for her to stop by the world of Doctor Strange and say hello. But you know what's even more exciting? The fact that Spider-Man and Evil Dead director Sam Raimi is reportedly on board to replace Scott Derrickson as director. This Sam Raimi involvement suggests potential for a particular cameo. You know who we're talking about, right?
They love me.
I mean, come on. How could you get Sam Raimi to direct a movie about Marvel's multiverse and not let him include his version of Spider-Man in it, especially when Raimi's version of Spider-Man is responsible for kicking off this century's comic book movie craze? Plus, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse got such a positive response, it's clear. Audiences want as many Spider-Man as Marvel and Sony are willing to give up. So could we make this happen, please? And you know what else? What about all those Marvel franchises that Fox own? Now that Disney owns X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, and more, who's to say Doctor Strange couldn't pay a visit to all of these other disconnected movie franchises? Maybe we're getting a little too crazy with all of these hopes for cameos, but if any Marvel character should be this crazy, it's Doctor Strange. The master of the mystic arts would be all about that multiverse franchise hopping. Just saying. There's also the new What If animated anthology series Marvel Studios announced, which is due to premiere sometime in 2021. What If will focus on big moments from the MCU and what might have happened if they'd played out differently. We're willing to bet this new series could play a major role in the Doctor Strange sequel. Who's to say that Doctor Strange 2 wouldn't include an entirely animated sequence mixed in with all the live action? Do it, Marvel Studios! You want to get nuts?
Come on, let's get nuts.
And hey, speaking of Batman 89 references, what if Doctor Strange ended up traveling to alternate Earths where he meets the Justice League and other characters from DC's expanded universe? Okay, that one probably won't happen, but we're throwing it out there anyway. Playing into all these ideas about alternate realities and multiverses, it seems likely that the Doctor Strange sequel's main villain could be Nightmare. This was the original director Scott Derrickson's first choice, and who's to say if that'll play out with Sam Raimi or whoever takes over the reins? But it makes sense. Nightmare is, after all, one of Doctor Strange's most well-known enemies. He's the ruler of the Dream Dimension, and that seems right in line with the idea of alternate realities Doctor Strange 2 seems to be delving into. It's also possible that Mordo, Doctor Strange's ex-ally, could be making a return. Doctor Strange's post-credits teaser offered him up as a potential future antagonist.
Too many sorcerers.
So this also seems like a likely bet, but since we already know that Scarlet Witch is going to be involved, we have another idea about how she might come into play as a villain. While in the comic books, Scarlet Witch is seen as one of the most powerful characters in the entire Marvel universe, the MCU has only begun to explore the limits of her abilities. We're willing to bet that her involvement is going to play a significant role in this upcoming MCU phase. And it's likely the seeds of her story will be planted in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Maybe she won't turn bad in this movie, but perhaps her involvement is a teaser for another storyline to come. And if Doctor Strange uses the multiverse as an excuse to bring the X-Men into the fold, it's highly probable that Marvel Studios might be looking to kick off the House of M storyline. How amazing would that be? For those of you that are not in the know, House of M was a limited series written by comic book legend Michael Brian Bendis, released in 2005. It dealt with the aftermath of the events in Planet X and Avengers Disassembled, which involved a Scarlet Witch suffering a mental breakdown due to the loss of her children. She ends up significantly altering the fabric of reality in order to bring her children back to life. House of M deals with plenty of alternative versions of Marvel characters. For instance, Spider-Man is married to Gwen Stacy, Steven Rogers is an older veteran, even Doctor Strange leads a completely different life, having embraced a career as a psychologist. The world Scarlet Witch creates is one in which mutants, not humans, are the dominant species. The mutants rule over mankind, and Magneto and his House of M rule over the mutants. The only one who remembers the world as it really was is Wolverine. He ends up having to seek out the Avengers and his fellow X-Men in order to stop Scarlet Witch and reinstate the reality that they know to be the true one. The House of M storyline is a huge one, so it likely won't be featured as the main plot of Doctor Strange 2. That being said, because House of M was such a big event in the Marvel Universe, it's a big possibility Marvel Studios might be seeking to adapt it for a future film. And now that Marvel Studios owns the rights to the X-Men characters and the Fantastic Four, this seems to be one of the best possible stories to adapt. If Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness starts to delve into the darker nature of Scarlet Witch's psyche and suggests that her powers are greater than anyone realized, it would be a great way to tease the future House of M movie. Honestly, the MCU has only begun to tap into the weirdness that the Marvel Universe is truly capable of. Doctor Strange is the perfect character to bring these elements to the forefront. This could bring a fresh new angle to Marvel's cinematic universe and could kick open the doors for all kinds of new and exciting stories. If Kevin Feige and his team are willing to take the risk, the MCU could get super weird in all the best possible ways. So Screen Ranters, where do you think Doctor Strange 2 will go? Do you think that we'll see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man return? Do you think that this is an elaborate ploy to set up the House of M storyline? Let us know in the comments below and make sure to subscribe. That way you can stay up to date with all the latest and greatest in movie and TV news.